Hi there, thanks for coming back. Today we'll take a look at placing floors, beams, and using the join tools to our disposal to make sure that this concrete pier looks the way that we want. To start with, let's switch to our Structure tab and click the Floor tool. For our purposes, we're simply going to pick the corner of the pier here as the starting point for our floor sketch. Pick somewhere over to the right, and we'll place a dimension so that we can modify the sketch line. Do the same for the other one. Then when you select the sketch line, you can move that dimension and make it an even 6 feet. Same for the other line, make that 6 feet even. Go back and delete your dimensions. We also want to choose an appropriate floor type. If you look at your type list for floors, you'll notice that it doesn't really have a floor slab that's conducive to what we want. So we'll start with the concrete slab 6-inch. Click Edit Type. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this. Make this a 24-inch slab. Edit the thickness of your structure and make that 2 feet even. Go ahead and click OK all the way out. Hit the green check mark. And we've now got a concrete slab going across those columns. The next thing that we'll want to do is start to place some edge beams around our pier. So we'll click the Structural Beam tool, and we'll take a look at our beams that are loaded. Of course, there's not too many loaded in the project, so we'll go ahead and choose to load a family. And within the default out-of-the-box installed content for Revit, we're going to be using the US Imperial folder. Look under, we want structural framing, precast concrete. And we're just simply going to choose precast rectangular beam. When we open that, it lists a couple different default sizes. We'll stick with the 16 RB32. And I'm going to use the Pick Lines tool just to place it on the outermost grid lines. And then escape out of the command, and we'll use our trim tool to trim the beams together. TR is the keyboard command for trim. The other thing that I want to do is I want to have a different size beam, so we'll go ahead and select one of them, click Edit Type, duplicate, and we'll say it's going to be 60 by 60. So make that 5 by 5. Click OK. Quite a bit bigger. Go ahead and select your other 3 beams and switch those over as well. Now, because of what's happening with the columns, these beams aren't cleaning up directly, so we'll go ahead and have to fix that. Let's take a look at our model and see in 3D what's happening. So if we look at the corner here, You can see that the column is going all the way up to the top of the slab. The top of the beam is flush with the top of the slab. So we're having conflicting areas here. What we want to do is, for the columns around the perimeter, we want to have the top of the column attached to the bottom of the beam. When you select columns, there's a tool on your ribbon that allows you to attach the top of the column to another structural object, in this case the beam. So go ahead and do that for the columns around the perimeter. For the one on the corner here, we'll go ahead and have to give it a negative offset of -6 feet. If you're warned about not keeping elements joined, that's okay. Go ahead and click the Unjoin tool. Switching back to our top of existing pier callout plan and heading over to that corner, we can take a look at our beams again and bring them back so that they're flush with that grid line. These beams at the corner here, they need to be cleaned up. If you look on your ribbon, there's a tool here that allows us to join them together. When you click that tool, look for a little blue arrow at the end for each of those beams. And when you click each of those arrows, it should create a nice mitered corner there. Again, you'd want to repeat the process at each corner, selecting the column, giving it a top negative offset of 6 feet to get it below the beams and get them to unjoin. The last columns that we have to adjust are the ones in the middle, where we would simply attach the top of them to the slab, and then they're happy. And then lastly, we would want to join the beams with the deck. So click your Join tool, click Multiple Join, click the deck, and pick each of those beams. One other thing that you may end up needing to do is editing the slab footprint. So if you pick that slab and click Modify Sub-Elements, and one thing that you may want to check before that is in your type for the structure that you can have a variable thickness. A lot of times what will happen is you'll have a sloping slab on the top, so that when you go to Modify Sub-Elements, we can kind of trick the slab into thinking that it's going to be higher around the perimeter and shallower in the middle. And we'll start by adding a split line down the center. And then again, modify sub-elements, and we can pick the outside edges and give them an offset of, let's say, 3 inches positive. And then if we view that in 3D, we now have our slab sloping to the center. So hopefully that helps you see how you can quickly get a slab into place, your columns placed, your beams placed, and everything joined together so that you have a cohesive structure. Thanks for watching, and come back next time.